Hey everyone, thanks for coming back. We are in France for stage 8 of the Chasing Pink. Apologies for the delay on this one. Had a little bit much on yesterday with work. Here are the GC standings through 7. So myself, Ruben and Gatesy all up in the top 4. It's a 54k route. You can see the KOM in the middle of the route being a key feature there. We don't actually go to the second KOM on the right hand side mini map. Pretty much a very basic race for the first 25k heading into that first KOM. So we'll skip to that now. You can see I've averaged 259 watts for that section of the race. So far from difficult, I would say overall. Just had to cover a few little moves. I'm here helping Gatesy out because by the time you watch this, you'll know that I am no longer GC relevant for the series. So purely here as a domestique today, make sure Gatesy gets through as well as possible. We've also got Jesse in the field. He puts in a fantastic team performance, which you'll see in a moment as we start heading up the KOM. Now, I told Gatesy that I would just kind of shadow him up the climb, let him do his thing, and then help out if needed. I did see him drifting off to the left a lot with no draft. So when I saw that, I would go to the front a little bit to try and just create an extra body in the way there. Like, he's certainly strong enough that he doesn't need it, but any help is valuable, I guess, in that situation, which I certainly tried to provide a few times throughout this KOM. It's about a 5-minute climb. Now, I thought Relentless top rider in the GC Bishop was here, but apparently had a mechanical in the start pens and unfortunately has missed stages now in the tour. So always sad to see stuff like that. But part of what happens next was dictated by what I thought and who I thought was in the race. We had Brown in the race who was high up on GC. Ruben put some good time into him on the previous stage. Apart from that, there's Gallagher who's high up. And then just a heap of Relentless guys, which if I knew Bishop wasn't in the field, obviously then they're going to try and be pretty aggressive as well. Planters in the field as well. He's not eligible for GC, but if anyone goes with him, then obviously they can create gaps as well. So as we're heading up into the next part of the climb, I see Gatesy on the front, so I assume he's feeling good and also out of the draft. So too, I'm trying to get in front of him to provide him that draft. So we're kind of working towards the top of the KOM here, catching the few guys at the front. You can see it stringing out the red dots there. And there actually is going to be a bit of a split over the KOM. Now, I'm prepared, because I know Gatesy's with me, I'm prepared to drive it over the top to see if anything can happen, if we can create some kind of split. And you'll see in a moment that the group does split and there's some somewhat relevant information there. So we go over the top. I stay on the power until I get into like a super tuck. And there are little splits on the road. Now, this is about where I find out that Brown isn't in the group, and Jesse relays that information that he actually created a gap. See, there we go. I left the gap. It would drop Brown. And so now we've got to get gap over a group of about 5 or 6 that do become 9. And as you can see at the bottom, I'm straight into some turns. Even though we've got a group of 15, I'm into some turns to kind of try and extend that gap. As I said, I thought Bishop might be some in there, but that was silly. Bishop would always be with this group if he was still in the race. Planter and Gallagher did some work. You can see the graph there, a lot of yellow, so that's when I'm doing work. There were a lot of guys sitting in, but a lot of guys doing work. It was an interesting dynamic, being like a GC race as well as an individual race. The last kind of 10K was very attacky. So I certainly stopped pulling at the front because I felt very vulnerable. Nate Miller particularly was super strong in some of his attacks. He would follow Planter every chance that he got. So I think Nate at that stage had, even though he wasn't high on the GC, he's still able to create a gap, I believe. This was a dangerous move. So Girdlestone heads to the front, and so this is where I just head to the front for Gatesy just to make sure that it doesn't get um, too much more than a couple of seconds, just to keep it within range, so that when they sprint, the guys aren't going to lose any time. So I'm just trying to match the power there. Obviously, really a really difficult effort and starting to hurt. Um, Not the way you want to be spending your second last K of the race, but Planter I think comes over the top here, maybe closely followed by a few riders. So get a quick breather. And because this was my last stage being eligible, and I had a 5 second gap over Ruben, I didn't want to leave the competition ahead. So you'll see in a moment. I try and close this gap. So Miller had one crack at taking the win. Gallagher followed across, and so did I. And from there, basically, I decided to just toe in at the back of the pack, and then once they open up their final sprint, I kind of just roll across the line to keep the jersey in the rainbow chases, as I bid farewell to the GC competition. I'll certainly be back next week for some stages to help Gatesy to try and get some stage wins and that kind of thing. So I time it really well. Come across the line 6 seconds behind the first GC eligible rider, which puts me to, there's the Zwift power results firstly. Um, so a good ride by Gatesy, finished well. There's the GC standings after that stage. So Ruben's got the 1 second gap. Alvarado consolidated as always, and Gatesy. Now the team series stats are here. We are flying. Have a look at that. The team are working beautifully. And here's Gatesy's race from stage 9. Got through safely. The boys helped. He actually unclipped in the sprint, unfortunately, so didn't get the result that he was after, but safe as houses onto stage 10, the time trial, where I'll keep you posted on how it's all going. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.